I can't remember what it was now, but I remember the bawdiness and how proud of herself Vienna looked. She told me her aunt had yelled at her for singing that song back at her cabin because her cousin Abigail was a tattler. She lowered her voice when my grandmother called us in for dinner, but kept humming, like she was still saying the filthy things behind her teeth. At dinner, my grandmother folded her soft hands and told us not to go near the lake at all. She included both of us in the prohibition wisely, because the same rules that applied to me had to be extended to Vienna, or else I would disobey and claim that it had not really been a violation, because Vienna was allowed. She wasn't able to explain to our satisfaction, told us only that it was a warm year, that the algae was overgrown, and that was dangerous. What part of it was dangerous, we wanted to know. Wasn't there always algae in the lake? It wasn't like we drank that water. In retrospect, I'm not sure my grandmother understood it herself. "Doesn't usually happen this high up," my grandfather said, paused in the process of finishing his soup, and my grandmother wrung one of her red-dyed ringlets around her finger and repeated, "Are you listening to me, girls? Are you listening to me? That water could make you very sick." How could we be anything but fascinated? "I can do whatever I want," Vienna told me the next afternoon, laughing with both of us stretched on the hot flank of a granite slab. "For real. I go to bed whenever, I eat whatever. I went down to the lakeshore store this morning and I stole a cigarette." She showed me, flicking it between her thumb and middle finger. "Are you going to smoke it?" I was fearfully impressed. Vienna dragged her bottom lip between her teeth. "I could if I wanted to." Vienna's grandparents were disinclined to involve themselves in her activities. Parents were far away in the summer, their voices heard on occasional phone calls. I missed my own, but didn't think of them much. My relative lawlessness in the Sierra was an anomaly for me, a vacation from my usually supervised life. Maybe the same was true for Vienna. I don't know, because I never thought to ask her. That was the last summer I would come up without my parents, before entertaining a teenager in the wilderness became too much for my grandparents. Trips in later years were restricted to weekends, and I lost track of Vienna. When I saw her high school graduation pictures, I was shocked. Her hair long and shining, the planes of her body softened, a new solemnity and attentiveness in her expression. It all felt like it had been sprung on me too abruptly, like she should have stayed 13 while I grew. In the days after her warning, my grandmother made a good effort to keep us away from the lake, but too much of the responsibility was on her. The elevation was hard on my grandfather, and he spent most of his time sleeping, snoring softly on one of the couches, sometimes with a green tank of oxygen at his feet, the plastic mask sealed against his nose and mouth. I would stop to watch the rise and fall of his chest, his exhales fogging the mask. Then I would suck in a breath as fast as I could and hold it in my lungs, trying to feel a difference between this air and other air, how it was less breathable. My grandmother, though, was still spry, and meticulous as she was, surprisingly at home on the docks and the back porches. She shepherded us to campfires and cookouts, drove us to lakes safe to swim in, showed us how to make pie, and pointed us toward the easiest hiking trails. When I think about that summer, I do feel for her. I find myself trying to bend this moment just enough to see it through my grandmother's eyes. Tired from the long drive up to the cabin, watching these girls fold themselves into the dining room chairs she had just dusted a winter's worth of insect corpses from, knowing we were in danger, but not how much exactly, or how to convince us of it, knowing anyway that we wouldn't listen. On Saturday, we all went boating on one of the upper lakes. Vienna and me, our grandparents, Vienna's Aunt Chelsea and Cousin Abigail. Vienna found me in the parking lot by the boat rental place that morning, scrunched her nose up and told me, "Abby has nightmares. Abby thinks a rattlesnake is going to..."